Hey guys, first regardsman here, and so I'll be talking about some Space Marine 2 news around Saber's upcoming response to the voice pack DLC controversy, future classes after Tech Marine, and new cosmetic options coming to the game in the form of both chapter markings on top of brand new armor pieces. The patch 12 Tech Marine update has been out for a couple weeks now. This includes the brand new Tech Marine class, 3 new heroic weapons, and a new disruption operation. Now, I've played over 100 hours of this patch already, and the community response to the new content drops has been pretty good for the most part. The new Tech Marine class is a lot of fun to play. We already got a hotfix with some pretty major perk improvements for him, on top of a lot of buffs for other classes in the main patch. But a huge controversy that occurred during patch 12 was over the DLC chapter voice pack heads. This was quite the marketing failure on Saber's part in my opinion. The DLC heads launched with dialogue that could barely be heard, and many mission voice lines would just revert back to the base game class dialogue, which was jarring to say the least. This was, funnily enough, the biggest DLC controversy this game has probably ever had, and Saber did make some remarks saying that hiring voice actors for all lines in the game would cost upwards of $20 to $25 for a DLC pack, which is just ridiculous in my opinion. But more recently, Saber's community manager has come out and said they've had multiple meetings over the community response to this DLC pack and will potentially be releasing a statement in the future. Now, personally, I was not a huge fan of this voice pack DLC. While it did include some very popular chapters, Blood Angels actually being my favorite Space Marine chapter in 40k, the lines felt a little undercooked and the actual voice acting had some pretty massive variations in quality between chapters. But we do know from data mines and other leaks that there are going to be more chapter head voice packs coming eventually for chapters like the Raven Guard and White Scars, and given the response the community had to this pack, I imagine Saber will be a bit more hesitant to launch the next voice pack in the same manner. But let me know what you guys think. Did you buy the voice pack for patch 12? Do you plan on buying a future voice pack if the quality is a bit better? Or are you just completely burnt out on the idea of a voice pack DLC for Space Marine 2? I'm not really against paying for DLC content if that content is well made, especially considering Space Marine 2 does release a lot of gameplay content for free, but this one just didn't hit the mark for me and many others, so I hope that any future DLC packs like this are a bit higher quality. Now, on the note of cosmetics in Space Marine 2, Saber did come out and say that they were planning to add more customization options in patch 13. The community update for patch 12 may mention that we will be seeing new chapter markings for knee pads, and we've also had data mines for brand new chapter markings that even include Heretic Astartes legions, such as the Emperor's Children. So yes, you will finally be able to LARP as a Slaanesh Marine, which I'm kind of shocked by, because Saber previously said Emperor's Children are not coming to Space Marine 2, but I guess they're only talking about the PvP Heretic factions and not markings for PvE Operation cosmetics, because according to Saber themselves, Games Workshop gave a big fat no to having Heretic Astartes cosmetics in the PvE game mode, saying that they would have already added them to the game by now if that was actually an option. So let me know how you guys feel about that. I am excited to see more customization options for knee pads, especially because at the moment, we really don't have that many options for chapter specific knee pad markings outside of DLC packs. I know it's a pretty minor thing, but I do like making Deathwatch cosmetic characters, and they just look better with a little bit of bonus chapter marking on them, at least for me. But speaking of other cosmetics, a lot of players have had a bit of a problem with the cosmetic selection of Tech Marine at launch. Compared to other classes, he is very limited and doesn't have access to a lot of the shared options that are available everywhere else, and most importantly, players really want to customize their Tech Marine as a Deathwatch. Deathwatch are incredibly popular among Space Marine fans, and it's pretty funny to me if the Tech Marine can't access proper Deathwatch cosmetics, considering his best primary weapon currently is the Deathwatch Heroic Heavy Bolt Rifle that was added in the patch 12. Now, Saber's community manager did previously state that while Firstborn armor customization is highly unlikely in Space Marine 2, they do plan on adding more Deathwatch cosmetics in the game in the future. Now, I'm sure the Tech Marine, like other classes, will have its armor expanded over time, but I still think it will pretty much always have a more limited selection compared to other classes, mainly because at the end of the day, Tech Marine was a free class and I pay DLC, and I just don't see the incentive for Saber as a company to put serious effort into it outside of like paid DLC cosmetic packs. Though we will be getting a Iron Hands chapter pack in the upcoming patch 13, which will more than likely contain some pieces for the Tech Marine, as Iron Hands are pretty well known for their Iron Fathers, which are pretty much a combination of a Tech Marine and a Chaplain. This also brings me to the current roadmap for Space Marine 2. Tech Marine launched a bit later in quarter 1 than Saber originally planned, and they have also since stated they will be updating the roadmap in the next month or so. We will also be getting at least one more hotfix for patch 12 in the coming weeks, which will probably be the last for this patch. A lot of people have been asking about the future of Space Marine 2 post year 2 roadmap, and whether or not we will be getting a year 3. Now, Saber's community managers themselves are actually unaware if we will get a year 3 roadmap, or even a new class after Tech Marine, as they were primarily waiting to see the response to the Year 2 plan and the launch of Tech Marine itself. But considering the Tech Marine update was the biggest update to Space Marine 2 we've had since September of last year with patch 10, I would expect them to focus more on adding another class in a potential Year 3. I also made a video on this previously with my friend Jefficus, where we talked about the recent earnings report for Focus Entertainment's parent company, Pull Up Entertainment, where it showed that the primary source of revenue for Pull Up Entertainment in 2025 was coming from their gaming backlog, which was spearheaded by none other than Space Marine 2. And on top of that, Saber has also come out and said directly that every weapon in Space Marine 2 should eventually get 2 heroic variants, so I think Year 3 seems very likely just based off their earnings report and prior Saber comments. But let me know if you think Space Marine 2 will have a Year 3. I did put a community poll out a while back asking if players thought we'd be getting a Year 3 support, and now 34,000 votes, the majority said yes, and I think the game is looking pretty bright. And speaking of the future of the game, a lot of players in Space Marine 2 have asked if you'll be getting campaign DLC or a Titus story expansion of some kind. The 500 Worlds tabletop box set recently released after one of the biggest reveal trailers for a model in Games Workshop's history, where we got an entire animated cinematic that had none other than Titus being promoted to captain with a whole tabletop campaign launching just for him. So many were wondering if we were going to get something to continue Titus' story in Space Marine 2, but Saber has come out and said that there are no plans for any campaign updates in the future, stating that their priority is the PvE operations mode, which I can definitely understand because going back to the campaign at this point would feel very underbaked. A lot of the major gameplay upgrades that were made to the operations mode over the past year and a half have hardly touched the campaign at all, and it would require a serious overhaul to start feeling even remotely as fluid as the current operations do. The team that originally worked on the game, which included the campaign, is not even the one working on the game now, so you can expect to wait until Space Marine 3 for more Titus story stuff, and that game is a long ways off and confirmed to have a 4-year dev cycle, which puts the launch around 2029. For now, Space Marine 2 is a primarily operations PvE game, and considering that is where the majority of the player base is, it's not all that surprising. And on the topic of operations additions, there has been much discussion in the community as to what new melee weapons they want to be added next. We just got the addition of the Omniscient Axe in patch 12, and many players have asked for lightning claws or heroic variants like chain axes and great swords. Saber has actually come out and stated what their priority for the next melee weapon will be, and that is in fact a great sword. I know a lot of players want lightning claws, but I think the two-handed weapons we have right now are some of the most entertaining in the game. And Saber has also said they want to revisit cosmetic DLC for chapters they've already made packs for in the future, so the idea of a Calibanite greatsword for a Dark Angel's Blade Guard sounds pretty great to me, and part of the reason I'm more interested in a greatsword now than I was initially is because of the quality of the melee weapons we've had added since launch. I think that every post-launch melee weapon has felt substantially better than the ones we had at launch, with the Power Axe and Omniscient Axe being two of my favorite weapons in the game currently. So if a greatsword keeps that level of quality, I'm all for it, especially considering we don't have a dual wielding mechanics in the game currently, so lightning claws would probably be a bit undercooked unless they made an entirely new system for them with gun strikes and all of that, but hopefully we can see those in Space Marine 3 and maybe like a great sword or like a chain axe or something like that in this game. Now, while we do have a heretic chain axe in the PvP, some players have asked Saber if you would get heroic variants of the power axe to be a chain axe instead, and they say Games Workshop would not allow that, so who knows, maybe they are planning to add better implementations of weapons like that beyond heroic variants in the future. And considering that the Year 2 roadmap ends way before we have 2 heroic variants for every weapon, I think we can at the very least expect more heroic weapons in late 2026 and even 2027. But that is pretty much all the news I want to talk about here. Let me know what you guys think about the Tech Marine update, voice pack DLC, and the future of the game, because we do have an updated roadmap on the way, and another patch 13 PTS coming out in the next month or two, which I will be covering. If you want to catch me live or ask me questions about the game or just coming out, you can find me here on YouTube or on Twitch with a link in the description alongside a link to my community Discord. And as always, thank you for watching. If you like content like this, subscribe for more, and take it easy. Bye.